Well, welcome to the UC Buyer TV, once again with my co-host, Mike Cromwell. And today we're going to sit down with Miriam Bitton and her partner in crime, Kevin Bartnicki from First Comm. So let's just talk for a second about First Comm. Who are you guys and where did you come from? Because, you know, you've been around for like 22 years and nobody's ever heard of you. So maybe one of you could speak to that for a moment.
Sure, I'll do my best as being one of the new rookies here on the team, but not a rookie in the industry. So First Comm, as you said, Dave, been around for about 22 years now. First Communications started off in Akron, Ohio. We did a small acquisition of an energy company, and then we did a small acquisition of a telecom company back over 20 years ago. And that's kind of how we had our first taste of telecommunications. So it was a mix of telecommunications, legacy telecommunications, and energy. That morphed over the first 5 years in business, and we actually sold off the energy piece and moved into just telecommunications. And with that, we then did another acquisition of a company up in Chicago, and really now that creates our new First Comm family as you see it today. So over the last 20 years, we've taken the old school telephony portion that we bought and created this legacy telco offering that we have now in Chicago and Cleveland. We have offices both in Akron, Ohio and Chicago today with over 250 employees. We have historically been known for historical telephony products. And Miriam and I came on board in the last 6 months to really start changing that mindset that, you know, First Comm is here. We have your POTS lines and your old copper-based stuff. We're here to tell you that that's not what we have anymore. We still have that, but we're transitioning into the cloud, and we have been for over the last year and a half with more cloud-based products. So it's an exciting time to be here. Last year, we actually made a big investment with our platform service, transitioned from our BroadSoft platform service into owning our own Metaswitch platform, which we're very happy about and excited to be partnered with Metaswitch for our platform offering. It's in a geo-redundant format, both in our Chicago and Akron centers. We are pushing that out both for wholesale, indirect, and direct channels right now through the organization. With that said, we have the full suite and complement of products from SD-WAN, managed securities, and all your data products. So First Comm is, I want to try to shake the old mantra of that we're just an old legacy telco. We've been around and we're doing more interesting and exciting things in the cloud now, especially going forward now with some new experienced headcount. So I'm excited to be here.
So you guys have both come out of, you know, we've known each other at prior companies. Kevin, you and I back, gosh, many years, and Miriam, you and I back at your last company. So we've all been in this UC space for a number of years. So, boy, I tell you, it's been a crazy few weeks here. You know, I think about the month of March, a March that we'll never forget, since in the last 30 days to everybody working virtually, leveraging this UC technology that we've been also passionate about for the last few years and seeing the whole world using it in the last 30 days.
Well, it's definitely been crazy. I think we take it for granted in our industry, right? These are the tools we use day in and day out. It's second nature to us. So from, just a marketing standpoint and seeing what's going on in the market outside of our day in and day out, I'm seeing folks that are in legal and all these various industries that are now having to jump into our space completely blind. So
yeah.
See Zoom out there, and that's really easy to use, and they're making that available to everybody. But now you have these businesses that are having to adapt and having to open their eyes to, whoa, there's collaboration offerings. There's all these tools that they didn't even really know before. And I think there's a little bit of a sense of feeling a bit overwhelmed. I think with web conferencing, you can click a button, jump on, oh, there's a video, oh, there's people I know, this is great. But now they're learning there's all these other tools. And then there's you going beyond that. If they're setting up their business or having to set up their business, they're being faced with a whole other set of challenges, including, okay, now I have to get security and VPN and all these other pieces. And it's happening so rapidly. So I think there's a bit of a scramble, and we are totally comfortable with this stuff, which is great. We've been eating, breathing, sleeping, doing this years and years. But there's a lot of folks that this is brand new to them. So it's really interesting to see so many folks coming into this with just a new set of eyes and really have kind of forcing us to step back and kind of take more of an educational approach as well. How do we help you kind of not only look at the tools that we have available and that are out there and see kind of what tools will help you excel in your business and your industry, but also not feel so overwhelmed and intimidated by everything that's coming at you because it's coming so rapidly.
Even in our own industry, companies that have been in the market selling this technology are not eating their own dog food. We talked about some of the things that First Comm's done to quickly pivot. As I look across the industry, former customers of mine, I'm shocked at how many companies weren't able to effectively pivot with the technology that they sell. So walk us through what you guys have, what your own courses look like here over the last few weeks in terms of pivoting from replicating everything that you do in an office to everybody doing it remote and not suffering any kind of interruption to your own business as well as your clients.
First Communications actually created a business continuity plan last January prior to my arrival and Miriam's arrival. Watching First Communications deliver on their own business continuity plan was not only a sense of pride in the sense of preparedness for the unforeseeable, right? Which we're dealing with right now. So First Comm was able to go fully virtual in a week's time. That's 2 call centers and a fully staffed NOC. Everybody's mobile. We do have 1 or 2 essential employees that will be on site for different things, but the entire organization from CEO down is all virtual at the moment. Doing that in 5 days, we had a few small hurdles with computers and such and software, but everybody is fully trained and fully remote at the moment. Miriam had brought up a good point. One thing we are doing internally, we're taking this time to actually educate our employees, not only on the products, we're doing some internal product education programs with our new trainer, but also we're doing deep dives with work at home environments. I personally, and I know you guys have as well, we all have a lot of experience. We're used to this. We were talking to the management team to start and making sure everybody's comfortable with the work at home. What does that mean? Building trust with your employees. I think trust in the virtual environment is one of the hardest things for an organization plus a manager to build up when you're not seeing somebody day to day physically. Like, are they working? How productive are they? How efficient are they? So the good thing is, just in our executive meetings, I'm seeing that there is 0 dip in our operational execution. So that's been a great testament to the continuity plan we put in place and we executed on. So that's been good to see. And Miriam and I don't necessarily have to worry about it because we've been doing this work at home thing, but it was good to see everybody be able to jump on board and do it quickly. As I mentioned, we were a legacy telco. So people going into 2 separate offices every single day, and all of a sudden in a week's time, everybody's home. So it's been a good transition for us, and we're absolutely consuming our own dog food every day.
And what types of things are you finding that as you're developing training for not only your employees, but also for your customers to, be able to more effectively consume the technology? What types of things are you finding are the biggest challenges? Because I think your points earlier, Miriam, were spot on. I think it can be overwhelming. You think about the journey, our own personal journeys in terms of adoption. It starts with just getting immersed in the tools and playing around with them and, playing around with different peripherals like the headsets and the audio, the settings and all that other stuff. So what types of things are you guys doing to help people that are trying to compress that journey into a few days or weeks?
Well, we are working on external trainings for our agent and partners, whether you're a direct client, indirect client, or wholesale partner. We're going to have a webinar series over the next bunch of weeks to go over. We're keeping it simple to start. Like, how do you download the app? Like, I don't think about that anymore because we've done it so many times, but start from the beginning and work forward. Keep it simple. You don't want to, give folks too much information because it relatively is simple for the most part. And I speak from experience, but when I first started, it was a challenge because you had to figure things out. So we're going to be doing a training series to help both clients and employees, both different sessions, but make sure everybody's education level is where it needs to be, so they can consume and continue to work and be efficient. And that's what we're doing starting actually this week.
What types of things have you seen in terms of demand on First Comm, or, where they're depending on you to help them quickly pivot? What are some of the top challenges, I guess, that you've been helping your clients solve?
Capacity has been probably number one. I think I mentioned last weekend, I received many calls to increase, trunking bandwidth, whether it's just trunking bandwidth or data bandwidth. We're doing it on the fly, and we're actually doing it pretty quick. Everybody on all teams is basically available 7 days a week, 365 right now. I mean, everybody's at home, so we're trying to just be available to clients as their needs come up. And also increasing or upgrading licenses on our platform itself, going from a standard license to a mobility license or a full collaboration license quickly. Takes about 30 minutes, and you'll have an upgraded license. From there, we'll have a sales engineer or one of our techs actually get on the phone with the client explain what that process is, how to download and get started. And then the trainings that I mentioned will be on top of that to get people more educated.
Yep.
We're trying to do as quickly as we can, as we know this issue has been changing by the hour, honestly.
I think people take for granted that if they've got, VPN tunnels, workers working from home, you got to make some changes to your network in order for, because all of a sudden, if you've got, an average of 20 people working from home on average, and now you've got 100, you're going to max out your VPN capacity pretty quick. So is that the kind of like upgrades that you've been really focused on?
Yeah, I mean, those all the above, they're all coming through exactly like you just said. And it's a staggered event. So while we as a company transition quickly, to your point, several companies are doing a slow roll. So that, a third of the office went remote, then the next third is going to go, et cetera. So they don't crush their own network or their VPN, and those increases and those requests are coming through right behind them as they increase their mobility.
I'm blown away that the infrastructure is able, just overall, that the infrastructure is able to support this much video. It's stunning to me where the whole industry has been able to scale this fast. Are you guys amazed by that?
Well, and let me throw in this. So I was talking to Miriam, and she was telling me that they've gone from 70,000 minutes on their video platform to over 200,000 minutes just in 1 week.
Yep.
So
we just saw that stat
crazy.
earlier.
Yeah.
It's
crazy. People are using this stuff like no time in history. And they're using it from everything from professional right now to family time and friend time. And they sit down and do virtual things like virtual coffee or virtual happy hours where people are just sitting around having a drink like they're at a bar. It's some crazy stuff that you can do now. And then teaching. Kids are out of school. They're using it for lessons and teacher connections. I mean, it is a changed world right now because of this. So grateful for the technology and sad that we're using it because we have this disaster upon us.
No, I agree with you, David and Mike. I mean, I think about when I first started, when I was selling BroadSoft almost a decade ago, and we used to chuckle sort of when we started to get in that UC and presence and everything was really cool, but nobody used video. It was always an afterthought. Everybody kind of chuckled about it. It was a bandwidth hog. Nobody's going to use it. It's such a specified thing. And to your point, all of a sudden, welcome to video. Everybody's using it. Everybody wants to see everybody. You can't do in-person meetings. And this is just another great tool to use in this unfortunate situation.
Well, it's been interesting too to see folks, like you mentioned, Dave, like people are using it for various things. So I have friends that are chefs that are doing, cook with me on Saturday night, to classes and everything else. But even companies are finding more creative ways to use it. So it's not just, hey, let's set up a meeting and talk about X product, but let's do these virtual happy hours. Or let's even do Monday morning coffee where we sit and we all have coffee together and you're doing kind of a check-in with your employees and just like a sense of well-being. And so it's not always just about the business, but just kind of getting comfortable with video and reconnecting that humanity component, which is really cool to see. I mean, we've, again, been so used to using it all the time, but it is really unique to see all these different use cases of how people are using it to connect and what they're talking about in their discussions.
It really is. You think about Dave. In fact, you were talking about this last week, Bible study that you ran. My mom had one. I don't think my mom's ever used video before. And now she's, doing Bible study on video. And there's not I think an hour that goes by these days where I'm seeing some kind of new use case that's showing up on my LinkedIn feed, on Facebook. What we're doing, this technology is making the difference between people staying connected, and for businesses that have it, enabling a safe work environment and enabling business survivability. We've all known that one of the biggest hurdles to adoption when we sell UC1, Kevin, when you're at BroadSoft and we sell it, there's a big difference between companies that use it and all their employees are using it, they're integrating into their day-to-day lives. That's really how you gain adoption. So what do you think happens because of all these people using it for all these different use cases? When we get on the other side of this crisis, what does it look like once we've got through a sustained period where out of necessity, people are forced to, use these tools? How does it change life on the other side of this?
So I actually was thinking about the same thing last week as well. I think on the other side of this, you're going to see companies start to evaluate their work at home policies. Obviously, I might be biased. I've been at home 11 years now, which seems like it was a blink. But I think what you're going to see is employees that can be efficient at home, companies can actually save money by having them at home. They still get the same efficiencies out of that same employee, but they didn't have to travel into the office or pay for a parking pass, whatever it may be. And I also think you're going to see a continuity plans change for everybody. I was thinking about this, like instead of somebody buying a standard license, let's say, they might buy the full mobility package or collaboration license, maybe not use it, but have it just in case, and have the ability to just, pop into the desktop app when you need to if you're at home, and continue to do business. I think we're going to see a lot of that. But I think you're going to see a lot of work at home policies change dramatically when we get on the other side of this, like soon.
Yeah, we were talking to Tesla about this, and he mentioned that the genie is now out of the bottle, and that genie's not going back in because people enjoy working from home. I mean, look at you two. You guys have been virtual for a long time. And so why would a worker want to go back into a city like San Francisco and struggle through all of those things that it takes to get to work when they can just go to work as soon as they get up and stay at work even during the weekends? I mean, why wouldn't an employer want to have workers like that? But now with this tremendous ability to always be on, there are some downsides to that as well. You don't get the same sort of separation between work and life. So maybe you guys, with your experience in working remotely, could speak to that a little bit. And maybe there's some tips and tricks for the newbies who are finding themselves at home and not really knowing how to handle that.
Yeah, I'll speak from my own experience. A dear friend of ours, Ed, Mr. Watson, who's doing great, by the way.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's my mentor in the business, and we've worked together for years. But long ago, prior to working from home, one of the things he always told me was setting up daily goals, weekly goals, quarterly goals when I was a young buck. And I still do that to this day. I have my pad next to me. I write down everything I want to get done for the day, top 10 usually. And I do my quarter, my month as I go through the day. And I still do that. And working from home, I do it way more than I used to do it in the office. And I think being disciplined with your wants for the day is beyond important. However, you do need to take time for yourself. You do need to get out of your house. When I first started doing this, I'd spend 3 days in my house and I realized I never left. Your beard grows out, your hair's nuts. You really got to get out of the house.
Can't do that with a video,
go crazy.
Yeah.
But it's very important to sort of have that separation. When you're at work, you're in front of your PC, you're doing your thing, but you do need to take a minute to yourselves and structure your day that way. Just like you're in the office, structure it the same way. That's how I've done it. I feel like a lot of people do it similar, but that's
I would say I mirror a lot of that too. Like I think some of it also, I'll build in blocks. Like I actually build in time so I can step out for a second, because I do the same. I'll start doing stuff and then I realize I've been at this 4 hours, 5 hours, I'll jump online later. And you end up probably putting in more time than you would if you were sitting in an office, because you're not going to sit in the office at 7, 8, 9, 10 at night. But if you kind of set little checkpoints, little alarms, little reminders to kind of keep you sane, really go get up and walk outside for a second, or go make yourself a meal, or, if your family's at home while you work, go out and say hi to your kids for a few minutes. And it really does help. And I think it brings a sense of peace, and it kind of eliminates all the external stressors too. Like I actually have a few friends that were very intimidated about going to this work from home. I'm not going to be disciplined. I'm not going to be able to focus. I'm going to go want to do laundry. I'm going to go want to do this. And they go, the best way to really explain it is you'll have everything that you need in front of you at home. It's just the walls around you that are changing. And if anything, it's a benefit. You're able to have a little more flexibility in your day. And, you don't have to, you can get up and not shower if you don't want to get on a Zoom meeting with video, but, you just have a lot more freedom actually to do that. You just, like Kevin said, have a little list, set your goals, and then also set times and reminders for those breaks to kind of keep keep yourself sane, really.
So yeah, managing that work-life balance is key. And, from an employer point of view, you got to trust your people as well. Mm-hmm. So if your people are going to play golf, or they're going to go to the movies in the middle of the day and those kind of things, how does that work? You want to talk a little bit to that? Because I think it's actually rejuvenating to go and do something like that every once in a while. And it makes your employees more productive because they'll return to their work at night or on the weekends as long as you can trust them to get their jobs done and done well, it just, like you said, provides for a flexible work environment. I sense that you like that.
I think as long as you're setting goals and you're saying, hey, here's a deadline. I don't care when you put in the hours, I don't care how you get it done, but as long as you hit that deadline, you have the freedom and you have my trust to do so. And I think that's hard because people have different managerial styles, but you kind of learned that the more trust you give, I think the more effort your employees are going to give back. It's kind of a give and take of that equal level of respect and trust, empowering them, saying, you know what, if you want to, you're not going to go tell them to go to a movie, but as long as you're saying, you know what, I'm not going to sit and ping you every 5 minutes going, what are you doing? Where's this report? What are the sales for this? You're just going to say, hey, let's touch base on Friday. These are the things that I need. These are the deliverables I want to see. Talk to you then. I think it's just a lot more appeasing to most people.
If your tendency as a leader is to be a micromanager and you got to see what your people are doing, boy, this has got to be a really, really tough time.
Yeah. They get paranoid. They start asking for more and more because they want to be sure that you're actually staying engaged with your work. But that over management is a rookie mistake. And like you're saying, yeah, you got great people. You can turn them loose. They're going to get their jobs done no matter where they are because they love what they do. So, yeah, I think there's a lot to that we could kind of help settle down the manager that's worried about whether or not people are productive. And there are tools. I just read this thing that a new manager in helping to manage work from home people got spyware and installed that to make sure he knew what people were doing. That big brother thing, right? That's the wrong way to look at it. Now you got other applications like Protoscore, which is really an amazing tool to be able to see what your people are doing specifically as a part of their job. Who are they on the phone with? Who are they sending email to? And it tracks all of these factors and then finally gives you a score at the end of the day that actually could turn you free. We were thinking, that this is a big, heavy thing that sits on remote people. But instead, it can be like a FICO score, like, oh, I'm a 93 on the Protoscore consistently, and you could put that on your resume because now you're known as an employee that can be trusted working at home. So there are those kinds of changes in the whole feeling around the big brother. So I don't really know where we all go with this at the end of the day, but certainly it's going to be a necessity in this particular day. And even after this is over, let's call it over. And, I think people are just going to love what they're doing, working at home and at the office both, finding a good mix between it all. And we're entering an entirely new day that we never foresaw 7 weeks ago. The world was so different just 7 weeks ago. And now it's an entirely different thing. So that's my 2 cents on where we are right now.
In trust, as we all said, I think trust is the biggest thing. And I think with trust, you need time. And you need to build up that trust. And micromanagers are going to find it very difficult. They'll probably have anxiety breakdowns. They're really trying to stay on top of their people like that because it's not going to work. As long as the things are being met by the end of the week or month or quarter are still happening, like that efficiency is still in place, the operational stuff is still in place. And then over time as managers, hopefully they start to build that trust with their employees and the organization builds trust with the employee. And it's going to take a little bit of time. I don't expect people to just say, yeah, this is great. I've talked to some of our managers and they're worried about certain individuals or whatever it may be. But I tell them, give it time. Everybody needs a job. Everybody wants to work and do a good job. You just got to let this all kind of play out. And I think it'll be fine. And don't overthink it. If you overthink it, you're going to drive yourself nuts.
So walk us through what your go-to-market plan looks like and what you're doing in light of, no travel. You can't get in front of those partners. Walk us through, first off, what's your go-to-market strategy? What types of customers are your sweet spot? And then how has this, changed what you guys are doing from a sales and marketing perspective?
Yeah, it was a bummer. Channel partners didn't happen. We had a lot of cool things set up with, which will happen in September, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Knock on wood.
I think it will. We as an organization really invested in the channel partner show a bit more than we had in the past. So we were doing a party for all the partners, and also we were doing a meeting room, which typically we hadn't done in the past. So I wanted to get on the show floor. I wanted the exposure to the brand. I always, just being in sales as long as I have, if you're not on the floor, I hate to say it, people don't recognize you to see it. You got to be in front of everybody. So that was first and foremost. Also bringing the entire sales team with me. That had to happen. And my marketing team, they were all coming. So just changing that old school thinking and bringing sort of that new school thinking, even though it's maybe not so new, but just recreating that as First Comm. And part of that was our new brand. So we were First Communications for 22 years. Last year, we decided to change the name, well, January. Thank God Miriam's here to help us with this. But we changed from First Communications to First Comm. And the F in the logo actually is that bubble talk diagram. And it's just showing that transition I mentioned earlier from old school to the cloud, so to speak, or that new technology. So part of that was to talk about the new brand, the new people we brought on board. Like I said, we have a new trainer who I know you both know well. And some other new headcount that we added for experience, both in the channel and the wholesale side. So the other part of the coming out party was we created a new revenue stream off of our MetaSwitch offering, that being the wholesale platform as a service. So we are wholesaling our MetaSwitch in a partition environment, similar to what I was doing at BroadSoft. We're off and running. I'm happy to say with a great team, we're able to create the revenue stream and the product line within 3 months and actually sign our first client end of last year. And we've signed up 2 additional clients already. So it's exciting to see that take off. And we're starting to get some real traction on that particular neck of the business. On the indirect side, we added some additional headcount in Chicago. So we're going to bring our new channel manager out, let him do his thing while he was at the show. But also as a team, just show the channel how invested we are. I think maybe from the last 2 years, we maybe got stale. I don't know what the word is. We were still there. We were still viable. We were doing good business, but we weren't in the limelight. I wanted to pull us out of that and get us more into the limelight, into the channel environment, into the show itself, and really start talking with the key players. So that was the goal for the show. Our go-to market strategy is to have great technology, which I think we partnered with Meta, and the collaboration piece is exciting. Obviously, we're using it. Even though it's your Zoom instance, we have the same Zoom instance, so it's awesome to have that collaboration tool available. And get strategic with how we're targeting our partners on the indirect side, whether it's promos and spiffs and the technology all combined in bundles to really get people excited about it, but also to top it all off with just an unbelievable customer service team behind us. Helps us, exponentially. We have everybody here has been an employee of First Communications for over 10 years. I would say 70% of our employees have been here over 10 years, and a lot of them over 15. And not only do they have longevity with the organization, they have longevity in the space. So that was our go-to-market, to talk about all the new technology and people, but also the new brand. And then, of course, what we've been doing over the last 22 years. It's still here, and we're just recreating ourselves. So it would have been exciting, but we'll do it again in September, I suppose. That's all. Miriam coming on board is going to help drive our brand recognition and brand awareness. And she has got a lot of initiatives going on right now on the marketing side.
And I can imagine an increasing level of dependence because of the events the last few weeks, I got to guess, Miriam.
Yeah, I mean, that's forcing us to be a little creative though, too, where everyone's kind of going virtually. So, we're diving into how can we still have that same motivation and drive, but be creative in how we're using these virtual channels, really. But also it's giving us an opportunity to leverage our experience and our knowledge and some of these key people in pretty much how do we become a thought leader? Like, how can we help others that are going through these same transitions? Because yes, we're a communications company, but we also are shifting just like everybody else. How can we help others kind of ease their own transition as well? So it's kind of a fun opportunity, because before you just kind of, you do events, you do blogs, you do all these things, and you're kind of set in your tracks. And now we're like, okay, well, let's step back and see how we can be creative, because you're seeing folks do it with just how they're utilizing video and everything else. So I think now we're kind of going back to the drawing board and saying, okay, what can we have fun with? How can we help people, and how can we really jump into this world of collaboration and show that First Comm is ready to jump in the mix, and this is what we have to offer. So it's exciting. I'm pretty pumped. I mean, not for the situation, but I think there are some paths that are kind of unveiling because of what's happening that kind of help us reposition and really jump in and see and add more value into the market.
Well, knowing your level of creativity, I can't wait to see what you got up your sleeve. Anything exciting you can share with us yet in terms of creative new ideas on that front, or should we use that as a follow up for the folks watching to see what Miriam's got up her sleeve next on the marketing front?
Today, we really focused on the work from home aspect of UC and how that's changing the world, not only for the employer, but also for the worker. And I think that First Comm has an amazing array of tools that can go home with the worker and make that person incredibly effective. So maybe we kind of come back to that for just a moment and ask Kevin and Miriam, what is it that every worker needs to have at home in order to stay connected to their jobs?
I would say, I mean, I guess I'll go simple to start. A safe, secure workspace. Having young children, when I first started working from home, I realized almost immediately that I needed to have a place maybe I could shut a door or just get away from everybody, to have that isolated time to really focus on what I was trying to accomplish. Because as you know, especially being at home, you can squirrel real fast because there's plenty to do at home. So I think having a nice, secure work environment to start is key. And I also think having a clean work environment and an organized kind of office environment is also important. I think if you walk into a messy office, like anywhere, that's how your day is going to go. So if you're efficient in how you're set up at home, both from a secure standpoint or just being able to shut a door so your kids aren't bothering you, and just being organized at home. I mean, those are the two things that ring supreme for me. And that was the first year of my life when I worked at home, figuring out how I was going to do that and creating my own office space. And also learning how to work with your family members to say, hey guys, when I'm in my office, there has to be a separation. Not that you need to be 6 feet apart, but there needs to be separation when dad's in the room or in my office. Unfortunately, I'm working. And it took my son a little longer than my daughter, but they realized pretty quick. But those are simple things that people don't realize are going to immediately be part of their life now working from home. Like the distractions are, I mean, there's a lot.
Agreed. I think it's also, if you're someone that's just meeting after meeting too, making sure you're kind of set up in the right way. So whether it's, your desktop phone or you like to have, you're using your computer, whether you want headsets, like finding the right things that work with you. Some people, and I personally don't do this, but I do have friends that they'll try to watch their kids as they work. So they have a headset, they have their mobile phone, they're using the mobile and the desktop app in conjunction, finding kind of what are the things that will really help you, one, stay on track and on target, but then also be a little versatile. Some folks don't need all that. They're like, I got my computer, I got my desktop phone, I'm fine. Others like that flexibility. So I think it's understanding, what does my day look like? What's going to kind of set me up to be successful? Knowing your personality and how you work. Do you like to get up and down a lot? Do you need to walk around? Are you someone that can sit there all day and be fine? And I think when you understand kind of your style, then you can kind of start putting the pieces together as far as what you need to help you be more productive.
It's been a good experience. I mean, to your point earlier, Mike, I've been on more video calls than I have my whole career, I think, in the last 2 weeks. I don't mind doing video. I think I talked to both of you probably more on video than I have any of my employees. And all of a sudden, the last 2 weeks, it's all video all the time.
Yeah.
And are you guys getting really good at saying, all right, so here's the deal. Click that up arrow next to the mute button.
That's right.
Change your microphone to this. Select the speaker to this. Select the microphone to this. And by the way, video, you got to change this to this.
How many sound checks have you done with the echo feedback?
Oh yeah,
it's my favorite.
Yeah, for me, I'm in my home office and it's super bright light, so playing around with these settings. So I still haven't figured that out yet because I look pale compared to you guys. I think it's the abundance of light I've got on the other side of that monitor right there. But certainly, it's one of those things that once you start using it more and more, you get accustomed to. I think
one thing I was going to mention, Mike, too, and things that I've personally been seeing in addition to just the straight UCAS stuff and the collaboration is the call center suite. And as I mentioned, First Comm moved 3 call centers effectively remotely. And through Metaswitch and our offering, we do have just an out-of-the-box call center suite, which is super easy to deploy. And I mean, it's a software license at the end of the day. But that's one of the obstacles I've seen actually in the last week that companies aren't struggling with. Like the software can be put up, but it's really understanding how to now manage a call center in a virtual environment. And I think that's going to be a little bit of a challenge for folks going forward as they learn this when they have to go, full virtual.
Yeah.
So we are working on a training class for call center as well to help folks.
We'll get to the other side of this crisis at some point, hopefully it's sooner rather than later. Once we go through a prolonged period of people using the technology, there's still a huge chunk of the market. When you talk about contact centers, still a huge chunk of the contact center market still got prem-based in place. Still a huge chunk of the market that's got prem-based phone systems still in place. What does this period that we're in do to, if you're a business that's got prem phone system or contact center still in place, what does this period do to accelerate adoption on that front once we get on the other side of the crisis?
I think it's going to be rapid. I think it's going to be fast. One of the things I think about when I think about the virtual environment is when a company is trying to employ folks that have to come into an office, your interview pool is very constrained to that regional area because they have to come to an office. I think what people are going to find out is they can get the talent they want in Seattle, but your office in Chicago or whatever, and get the right person for the right fit and still have the same efficiencies in place. But I think we're going to see the adoption probably almost immediately. I think people are going to revamp their continuity plans, revamp how they're coming at the employment, and change. I think they're going to change within probably by the end of the year. I think we're going to see a swift move from prem-based equipment into the cloud relatively quickly. And I hope we get on the other side of this by September, October, and everybody's like, yeah, let's go. Time to go virtual.
The consensus of the folks we've talked to say this pulls adoption forward probably 2 or 3 years from what the analyst forecasts were heading into this crisis. We talked to Poly the other day. They've seen just a massive influx of demand, and I think it's going to be a crazy time probably for the next 12 months, I think, on the UC front.
One of the other questions is, when we get on the other side of this, is what will the UC software look like on the other side? I think it's just going to advance even more, if it's even possible. I think the advancement of the UC capabilities we have today are going to be even tenfold. Maybe that's a high number, but by next year this time, the UC component is going to be pretty wild.
Is Dave and I talked to Mike Tesler last week and had a really fascinating discussion. But among other things, we talked about what was the catalyst for the founding of BroadSoft, right? And BroadSoft was the innovator of all the technology that's being used today. And so I was curious as to the catalyst that kind of started that, right? As I was going through and doing some edits on blog posts that we're writing up right now, and reading back through the transcript, story I hadn't heard before, but the whole work from home, the technology that supports it, was invented out of 9/11, which is fascinating to me.
That is fascinating.
That they were a bunch of infrastructure folks that realized, holy crap, in 9/11, as much redundancy was built into class 5 switches, you couldn't plan for what unfolded with 9/11 if that infrastructure, redundant as it is in a single location, right? So once you've seen the challenges people are solving from home, what kind of new innovation does that bring to the market because of the period that we're in? And I'll bet you there's things we can't even think about right now.
I agree. I think it's going to change exponentially, and it's almost like you have to have that dramatic thing to happen for things that fast forward even more than, like you said, it's going to fast forward 2 to 3 years. And it took this unfortunate event to maybe get people there, but all of a sudden everybody's using it, and now it's going to fast forward even more as far as the technology is concerned. And I'm excited to see what they come up with. First Comm is trying to help existing and new clients. Obviously, with what's happening, that people are going to have some financial hardships. So we are offering some free service and upgrading license for existing clients. Just do what we can, doing our part. We're doing a lot of things on the fly. We're working 7 days a week right now. We're not taking weekends off, trying to help everybody we can. And all the phone calls are all different pretty much every single day with the challenges people are facing. So we're here to help. We're not here to gouge anybody. We're just trying to help our clients, and anybody that needs help, we're here. And we have the tools to help.
Yeah, those are some great words. This is about a giving kind of spirit where we really get our arms around each other, virtually speaking, to try to help people in this crisis. And we have some great technology that connects more than just to work. It also connects to each other and to our family. And we're just hoping for the best for you guys. Thank you so much for the way that you're looking at your business. It's not just all about profit, but it's really about how we can help people with this. So we've got some technology that can help. Excited to be part of it with you. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Stay safe.
Stay safe, guys.
You guys too. All right. Bye-bye.